Hi, Mrs. Young here, and today we are going to talk about amphibians. So let's start off with some characteristics that all amphibians share. First of all, they're ectothermic, which remember that means an animal whose body doesn't produce much internal body heat. They spend their early life in water, and then they spend their adulthood on land, but when it comes time to reproduce, they return to the water. The word amphibian actually means double life, meaning they spend part in the water and part on land. So amphibians are broken into two stages of life. Their larva stage, which is when they're young, and then their adulthood. So in the beginning, when they're young, they are herbivores, meaning they eat plants. But later, as they move into adulthood, they become carnivores. We've all seen the frog sitting on a lily pad, sticking its tongue out, catching flies. And then when it comes to oxygen, when they are in the larva stage or their young stage, they're in the water, remember. So they have gills so that they can pull oxygen from that water. But once they get onto their adulthood years, they're on land, so they have lungs so that they can get their oxygen from the air. For movement, we know all animals move at some point in their life, so amphibians need strong skeletons and muscular limbs. Their legs are also adapted depending on what type of amphibian they are. So salamanders have short, stubbier legs that are adapted for crawling, while frogs or toads have legs that are adapted for leaping. For reproduction, they all reproduce sexually. The eggs are fertilized internally, and then they are laid. So a female lays the fertilized eggs. They then develop into what's called a tadpole. And this is where we start to see metamorphosis happening. So you can see on this diagram, you can see the frog shape starting to take place, but it still has that tail. It eventually turns into the frog, and that tail is then absorbed into the body, and it becomes what we think of when we see a frog. So there's two major groups of amphibians. There's the frogs and toads, and then the salamanders. And really, the huge difference is that frogs and toads lose their tail in adulthood, and salamanders keep their tail. So that's a little bit about amphibians, and I hope you found that helpful.